If you're just joining us now, we are in the middle of a dialogue on dementia, keeping safe. And I said before the break that we were going to move on to talk about family. And speaking of family, and on behalf of all the families out there, and Nan, I wonder, how would you, Liz, are there some things that we should be looking for when we're looking for some place for our family member to live? And I guess a negative way of asking that question is, what are the things that we should be careful? What are the barriers to this person-centered care that we've been talking about, that we should know about?
Well, you touched initially when we were talking about environment and talking about the physical setup of a caring environment, and then doing some homework. So being able to find out a bit about the staffing ratios. That's very important. I think the staff training is crucial. Those two together are something that can often, if there aren't enough staff, but also the staff are not well trained in person-centered care, then it's very difficult to provide the kind of, excellent communication skills and care that is required, because people are rushed.
Yeah.
And as soon as you rush someone with dementia, you put yourself at risk for injury.
What is the staffing ratio? What do you mean by that?
Well, those are the sort of hours of care that are provided through either private funding or government funding to be able to support good care. Mm-hmm. And we know that that certainly with the increasing complexity of the people who are living with us and the increasing numbers of people who have dementia who live with us in residential care, that the staffing hours certainly need to keep growing to be able to support the kind of care that we want and to minimize the use of medications that are unnecessary.
So in a few minutes we're going to talk about how families can be advocates and helpers in this and all of this and then. But before we do that, we were asking the question, how can the person themselves with dementia help keep things safe? And so we met Jim Mann, and he told us.
Jim Mann and his wife Alice start every day walking their dog. It's just one of the routines that's become part of their lives since Jim was diagnosed with early onset dementia 4 years ago, when he was 58 years old.
When you get a diagnosis of a dementia, whether it be Alzheimer's or vascular dementia, whatever, that doesn't mean your life is over. What it does mean is you get your affairs in order, because there will come a time when you can't balance the checkbook and you can't do some of those things, like you can't drive a car. And so you sort of manage your own affairs at that point, and then you adapt.
For 25 years, Jim worked with Canadian Airlines. When he retired, he was Director of Government Relations. That means he's comfortable in the role of advocate.
This is our upcoming publication schedule.
Okay.
And it's been a relatively smooth transition to his current work with the Alzheimer's Society.
I am on the board of the Alzheimer's Society of BC. I'm honorary editor of the Insight newsletter. I do it to help break the stereotype, to increase the knowledge of what it really is to be a person living with Alzheimer's. We've never done a survey, have we? I do what I do to make a contribution while I can on my insight of living with the disease.
One of the insights that Jim has had is that he needs to prepare now for a time when he will receive residential care. He's putting into writing important details about who he is as a person, something he recommends others do to improve their quality of life in the future.
I would hope that when that person enters the residential care home, that all of the staff will know and understand and read and digest and better understand who that person is as a person, and not just, some bloke off the street who has Alzheimer's. I'm Jim Mann. I have this as my history. Good dementia care is good basic care. If you know your resident, and if they have provided some of the history, then hopefully, you can make it all work and it can sort of come together and everybody can be happy.
That's profound, and there he is, Jim Mann. Thank you for that, Jim. Nan, when you hear that, is that helpful to you?
It is. I wish I had spoken to my husband earlier about what he wanted, except that he didn't want to speak about it. And so that was a difficult thing. But it's something for me to think about, and my daughter and my 2 sons to talk about maybe with him at different times and write things down.
So
Yeah.
Jim, thank you for that. You've shared a great bit of wisdom for those of us who are watching. Let's talk about family for just a minute. You could do a whole show on family, but Gordon, when I talked to you, you said they could be your greatest asset, families. How can they be helpful?
Family members are invaluable to the quality of life of a person in residential care or in a home. Yes, they help us.
What do they do to help you? Because I am a family member in that situation. What can I do to help you?
Well, they provide us with a wealth of information about the person. We get to know their history. They help us with our workload, the burden of care.
Yeah. For me, in a good day, it feels like it's a partnership, that
Yes.
there's mutual respect. Yeah, and so that's on both parts. That's important. I wonder, Tara, if you could tell me this is really getting down to the nuts and bolts of this, but what are the legal obligations of an employer to make sure that these kinds of environments that we've been talking about exist for the people we love?
The obligation of the employer to provide. Well, I mean, a facility that's a safe place for people with dementia is also a safe place for staff. So those two go hand in hand. And when staff are happy and have that calmness that you talked about when you walked into Delta View, when they have that self-awareness and that calmness, then it's going to be a good facility. And the care is going to be good and generally, and people are going to be happy.
This is the beginning of a dialogue that we hope you carry on in your own homes and in your own lives. Thanks to all of you for being here. And if you'd like to know more about all of this, you can go to the WorkSafeBC website, and we're going to see it in just a second. You can click on Safety at Work. It's near the top right corner, and then click on Healthcare. And I'd also recommend that you check out alzheimerbc.org. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our studio audience, and keep safe.